There's a new development to report in the politically charged CIA leak case. There's official notice today that the Vice President, Dick Cheney, will in fact be called to testify in the perjury trial of his former Chief of Staff, Louis Scooter Libby. That trial due to begin next month. Let's bring in our Chief National Correspondent, John King. You've been looking into this story. Give our viewers a sense of what it really means.
Well, not completely unexpected, because the prospect of the Vice President testifying has come up in court hearings over the past several months, dating back into early last year. But consider the drama. The trial is scheduled to begin on January 16th. Scooter Libby is the Vice President's former Chief of Staff, and his defense team today, after the prosecution said it did not plan to call the Vice President, stood up in open court, federal court, and said it did plan to call Dick Cheney as a defense witness. Now, again, this has come up from time to time because Scooter Libby and Dick Cheney were so close, and the prosecutor wants to know what Scooter Libby knew about Valerie Plame. She, of course, is the former confidential CIA operative at the center of all of this. What did the Vice President know about all this? The White House has consistently declined comment, but after the Vice President's name came up in court about 6 months ago, I asked him about this.
John, I'm not going to comment on the case. I may be called as a witness. Scooter Libby, obviously, one of the finest men I've ever known. He's entitled to the presumption of innocence, and I have not made any comments on the case up till now, and I won't.
Let me ask you one more question about that then. You say you may be called as a witness. The President urged everyone very early on to cooperate in this investigation. Does that mean if you are called as a witness that the administration would under no circumstances cite any privileges, either to shield you from testifying about certain issues or to protect certain documents or anything like that?
You're getting into hypothetical now, and I'm not able to answer that. We have cooperated fully with the investigation from day one.
And after official word came to the Vice President's office today that he would be called as a witness, this statement to CNN from Leanne McBride, the Vice President's spokeswoman, she said, quote, "We have cooperated fully in this matter and will continue to do so in fairness to the parties involved. And as we have stated previously, we are not going to comment further on a legal proceeding." But again, if the trial begins on January 16th, there is nothing we can find in the history books of a sitting Vice President as a witness in a criminal trial, so high-stakes legal and political drama.
Yeah, it's interesting that they're going to cooperate in that sense. Presumably they could have, as you suggested in that question to the Vice President, raised some sort of constitutional issue here. They're not apparently going to do that. We have to assume that Scooter Libby and his attorneys believe the testimony of the Vice President will help him in this case, but I'm having a hard time understanding how that could happen.
Well, however it breaks, we are likely now to get, assuming they go ahead with these plans, a fascinating behind-the-scenes look at just how the White House handled it. Ambassador Joe Wilson wrote that column back in 2003 in the New York Times, essentially saying the President lied. The President hyped the case for war in Iraq. Then there was an aggressive campaign at the White House to rebut him and to criticize him. And, of course, the question in the criminal investigation was, did they out his wife, a covert CIA operative, as revenge of some sort? What did the Vice President know? What was Scooter Libby's involvement? That will be the back and forth. Scooter Libby's defense is, if he lied to investigators or if he doesn't remember exactly what he said or exactly what he knew, it's not because he's trying to avoid things or cheat investigators. It's that he simply was overwhelmed. He was so busy, so important to the national security team, he was overwhelmed. That will be the question put to the Vice President. That will be what the defense wants from the Vice President. But it gives the prosecutor, Patrick Fitzgerald Wolf, a chance to further his investigation and to go to the Vice President of the United States himself and say who was in the meetings, what was said. Did anyone at a high level say, let's get revenge, let's out her? So it'll be fascinating.
And January 16th, you say that's when the trial's scheduled to start?
Scheduled to begin. It could be a couple more delays. The lawyers are still trying to figure things out, and he will be a defense witness, so you have to wait a little bit. But the judge wants to move this along pretty quickly, so sometime early in the new year.